On a vacation island, a politician gives a call to a man called Mujin. He is complaining about Mujin submitting a bill to the National Assembly which he doesn't like and is prepared to blackmail Mujin and make a scandal out of him. Mujin doesn't take kindly to being blackmailed, but the politician and his buddies think they have him cornered. Suddenly, the tides change and what was a clear sunny day is now a sailor's worst nightmare. The three stare off into the distance, wondering what is going on as Mujin puts his hand down and prepares for the next part of his plan. Later, some rescue teams were dispatched to find the politicians, but yeah, I don't think they're coming back from that one chief. We meet Jin Mori as he wakes up from a dream about his grandpa and he is about to go back to sleep, but a quick double take of the clock gives him an even worse nightmare. He's going to be late. He rushes outside and races his bike down the street to get where he needs to go, but in doing so, he almost runs over a granny, and there are a few crimes more unforgivable than that. So he makes the decision to dodge her and falls off a cliff. In the city, everyone is getting hyped for the God of High School tournament that is being held today, and these karate guys are bummed out that they didn't get selected for it. They are approached by a girl who is looking for the arena for the tournament, but she seems to be really into the guy's muscles. And as gym bro law states, if someone compliments your muscles, you must immediately strip down and flex. Mori somehow managed to survive the fall and is making his way to the arena when a speeding motorcycle cuts him off while driving the wrong way. Mori sees an old lady on the ground, realizing that the biker had stolen her purse, and stealing a granny's purse is the second most unforgivable crime there is. So Mori chases after the motorcycle on his bicycle, which he is actually able to keep up on. What follows is a long chase scene where the biker tries to shake off Mori. But honestly, if you are being chased by a high schooler who can pedal faster than a motorcycle, then you should just turn yourself in at that point. The chase leads them to the place where the girl was enjoying her flex show, but then Mori knocks the glasses off her face and maybe a few brain cells as well. Mori gets up and tries to leave after apologizing, but with her lost glasses and brain cells, an apology isn't going to cut it. She throws her sword at Mori and is about to lay into him, but he tells her about the granny purse thief, and she knows that is unforgivable, so she joins Mori to catch the guy. She is trying to knock the guy off his bike, and no matter what the biker does, he isn't able to shake her off his tail, so he tries to throw them off by tossing the money from the purse. Mori stays behind to gather the money, but launches the girl to take down the biker. She's about to get him, but her lost brain cells and glasses causes her to crash into a signpost instead and let the guy escape. But luckily, there was a guy standing ready to give the biker a good punch, and a helmet isn't protecting you from that. They all head to the arena after turning the biker in and introduce themselves to one another. The guy is Day and the girl is Meera. After that, the tournament begins and they are all brought out onto the main floor. They've had nanomachines injected into their blood to monitor their condition and help them heal the wounds they may sustain. The announcer then tells them to begin fighting, which confuses them at first, but they get the picture soon enough and begin brawling. The battles are going on and Day and Meera are doing fairly well, but the commissioners are focused in on Mori as he apparently injured the blonde one when he was being recruited, which is very impressive since the commissioners are quite strong. One of them receives a call regarding one participant who has finally been cleared to join the fight, and this guy is in a straitjacket for crying out loud, so he is either insanely strong or crazy, or maybe both. Meera tries to attack him, but he is way out of her league and is simply toying with her, so Mori steps in and pantses the guy to embarrass him as well. But he is unfazed by this and offers to give him an up-close look, making Mori regret his decision. That aside, Mori is the only one that can stand on even footing with this guy, so they both clash head-on. Meanwhile, the government is still trying to figure out who decided to go and high-five an island, but that's when Mujin walks straight into the highly secure area and announces himself. Back at the tournament, the fight has been brought to a close and the future fight pairings have been decided. Meera is walking home from the arena and Mori is hopping around her and following. Their houses happen to be on the same route, but she still doesn't like it. Back in the arena, before Mori could have a proper fight, she snuck up behind him and broke his neck because she thought he was the one who took her sword. But they were able to heal his neck with the nanomachines, so it's all good and he won't be needing a wheelchair. Along the way, Mori asks the others why they chose to participate in the tournament, and for him, it is all about fighting strong opponents and getting stronger. The same as Goku. For Day, he wants money because his friend is currently hospitalized with stage 4 cancer, and Meera wants to revive her family's dying sword dojo. Mori is surprised that her family owns a dojo, but with that being the case, she sure does lose her sword a lot. In fact, while she was talking, Mori was able to take her sword, but she doesn't take kindly to that and tries to get it back, leading to the sword plummeting into the water. Mori messed up and she is so angry that she slaps him and tells him to leave. Late into the night, Meera is still searching the water for her sword and she thinks back to the day her father gave her this sword and entrusted her with the moonlight sword technique. And to that end, she sacrificed everything she had, including her chances at a social life, but with how things are going, she won't be able to find her sword. However, Mori shows up and offers his help with finding it since this was all his fault. They start looking together, and she apologizes for slapping him earlier, but they're still going to need more help to find it. And Day is here to do just that with a giant spotlight. With the night's developments, the three's friendship has been cemented, and the next day, they are back for the preliminaries of the tournament. Mori is taking a nap when Straight Jacket Dude comes up to him and tries to start another fight since the last one was interrupted by Meera. But then this guy with his eyes closed, whose name is Go, starts talking, and maybe he didn't get the memo, but you don't mess with crazy. Go merely gets his head kicked off, but Mori gets up from his nap just in time to save him. The preliminaries start, and the fights are pretty one-sided. But it is important to note that Mori, Meera, and Day will be moving on to the next round. The final round will be Go and Straight Jacket Dude, and Go is offended that Straight Jacket isn't taking the fight seriously. As the fight begins, Go actually lands a couple powerful combos and knocks him out of the ring. But as he gets back in, he releases one of his hands, and Go no longer stands any chance against him. What follows is the worst beatdown anyone there has ever seen. Straight Jacket threw 6 punches with the same hand. There was no coming back from this. Yet even after all that, Go refuses to give up, prompting Straight Jacket to release his second hand and try to break all of Go's limbs. The announcer asks if Go has given up, and if he values his life, Go better give up and go home. But Straight Jacket isn't going to let him leave unless it is in a wheelchair. Luckily for Go, Mori steps in and sidekicks him across the arena. But it is still against the rules to interfere in a match, so Mori is going to get sanctioned for this. Straight Jacket isn't done yet though and comes back for round 2, but he gets hit with a sick triple kick, and this time he's down for the count. However, Mori is still in trouble, and Mugen returns to take care of the situation. So now for the damage report. Go isn't looking too good. In summary, ears ringing, jaw fractured, 3 ribs cracked, 4 broken, and diaphragm hemorrhaging. Physical recovery, 6 weeks. Full psychological recovery, 6 months. While Kang has been thoroughly discombobulated and won't be able to participate in the tournament anymore. The commissioners are deciding what to do about Mori, who is in the other room doing some push-ups. Normal procedure here would be to disqualify him from the tournament altogether, but Mugen finds it interesting that his grandfather is a man called Taejin, as he seems to recognize the name. The tournament continues as normal, and Meera is to face Mizan in the next round. Mizan is unarmed, but Meera's sword isn't going to be of much use here since Misa is a pro wrestler. She came all the way here from America because she heard that she would be granted one wish for winning the tournament. And what is her wish, you ask? She wants to build her own personal harem, made up of all the male commissioners, and she will beat up as many high school students as it takes to make her wish come true. She jumps up on Meera and gives her a wicked powerbomb that knocks her sword out of the ring. Yet despite having lost her weapon, Meera is not defenseless. She's the bone of her sword and can cut with her bare hands, which grants her the victory. The crowd cheers her name and Mori cheers along from his detention room, but Mugen then comes in and announces that he has decided on Mori's punishment. If he can beat the green-haired commissioner, then he will be allowed to continue with the tournament. However, if he loses, then he will be disqualified. Later that night, Mori catches up to Meera and Day and offers them some fruit that he got from Mugen, but they decline the offer. He then tells them about the match he is supposed to have to get reinstated in the tournament, and they are happy for him. But beating a commissioner isn't going to be easy. Back at the arena, one commissioner asks Mugen if he really gave Mori the fruit that can release someone's potential, but was locked up because it would kill any normal person that ate it. And I'm no doctor, but Mori doesn't look too good. The next day, Day meets up with his friend in the hospital, and the guy apologizes for making him work so hard to pay for his treatment, but Day would never leave a friend to die, so he doesn't feel burdened at all, and the two share a laugh. Later, at Day's job, some of his classmates come in to mock Sute in the hospital and mess with Day. And while he could easily send them all to that same hospital in critical condition, he chooses to remain professional and ignore them. After that, he goes for his match in the tournament and is faced with Senchoru. Senchoru is what you would get when you mix a nerd and a jock together. An abundance of knowledge and effective utilization of violence. With that, he is able to predict Day's attacks and strike his weak points with great precision, but Day is also able to adapt to the challenge and memorize Senchoru's timing. They are about to clash again when Senchoru slips and falls on the ground, but rather than take advantage of it, Day took a bat to the head to help Senchoru up because he is not a coward. Senchoru is confused as to why Day wouldn't seize the opportunity to win, but he hits back into stance and the fight resumes. And a few seconds later, Day must really be regretting his decision to spare Senchoru. His organs have been ruptured, and there should be no way he can stand anymore, but after remembering Sunte, he regains the will to fight and uses his special technique. which he probably should have used from the start if it could crush the bat. He then throws everything he has at Senchoru, breaking through his defenses and leaving him with no options for counterattacks. And Senchoru, as a man of science, realizes that he has been beaten and isn't even that upset by it. Now that the match has ended, it is time for Mori's match with the commissioner, but he is still on the floor in his room. The announcer is calling for Mori, and it is starting to seem like he isn't going to show up, but at the last minute, he makes it to the ring and the match can start. It's going to be a handicap match where Mori only needs to knock the commissioner over once in order to win the match. As the match begins, Mori immediately appears in front of the commissioner and knocks him down easily. But this pisses off the commissioner since he lost to Mori so easily, and he pulls out his stand to attack Mori. Mori doesn't know what the hell that thing is and he is about to be sliced up, but the other commissioners hold the guy back and Mujin is going to reduce his pay for the next 3 months for his little outburst. But one good thing came from all this. Mujin is now sure that Mori is a special one. The semifinals are next and it has Meera and Day facing off against each other. However, this guy pulls up and asks to marry Meera out of nowhere. And you know what's crazier? She agrees to it. The man is Songjin, a famous martial artist and entertainer. He promised he would help restore the moonlight sword technique with his connection, so she agreed to marry him. After her father passed, his brother took her in and tried to keep the dojo going, but his body wasn't built to handle that. Though he's still a loving father figure and questions Songjin on why he wants to marry a high school girl, and he says he sees great potential within her and to make her happy, he will revive the dojo, and her dad can't really argue with that since he failed. But while Meera is struggling with her marriage problems, Mori has his own life-changing decision to make. Double cheese or regular? Behind him, he hears some girls talking about Meera getting married and goes to ask her about it himself. Meera doesn't want to talk about it though, but Mori can tell that she's unhappy. But in the end, he has only known Meera for a short time, so he can't go and tell her not to get married. On the day of the wedding, her dad realizes that he can't just stand by and let this happen. But Meera still wants to go through with it for the sake of her family's sword technique. Her sister now realizes that this isn't right as well, and she happens to meet Mori, who is going to do something about it. Up till now, you may have thought that Songjin actually cared about Meera, but all he cared about was what those hands do and the wooden sword, which supposedly has immense godlike power. Mori tries to get into the ceremony to talk to Meera, but security won't let him pass, and if he tried to fight them, they would end up dead, so he can't do anything. However, Day shows up and gives them a light push. Mori gets to talk to Meera and asks her if this is what she really wants, and no, she doesn't want it, but this is the only chance she has to realize her dream. However, Mori retorts that a dream that you don't fulfill yourself means nothing, and she is plenty capable of making it happen on her own, plus she has her family to support her. So she finally gets the guts to call off the wedding. But Songjin never gave a damn about the wedding, all he wanted was the moonlight sword, so he pulls out his stand and attacks. But even with his stand, Meera is still able to beat him low diff. In all the commotion, Songjin steals the sword, but Meera doesn't chase after him because she can fight on her own. It's not like him having the immense godlike power sword is going to come back to bite her or anything. But after solving one issue, another arises as Day finds out Sunte's cancer has gone all the way up to stage 6 and he is in danger of dying. While at work, those bullies come by again and try to pick on Day, but all professionalism flew out the window this time. And he ends up taking out his frustrations on Meera as well, leaving her in a bloody mess. Mori is not going to stand for this, and after winning his match, he is set to face Day in the finals. The finals begin and Mori and Day are not holding anything back from the fight. They are giving it everything they have, but as it stands, they are still evenly matched. However, Mori is going to make sure that Day regrets what he did to Meera, so he uses his triple kick to send Day flying, but he isn't done yet. Meanwhile, Meera is walking down the halls and finds out that Day's friend was in the building receiving treatment, but has just died. Day had an agreement with Mujin that if he beat Meera and Mori with an overwhelming amount of force, then they would treat Sunte's stage 6 cancer, and that is why Day had been fighting so brutally. Back in the ring, he has just hit Mori with a finishing combo and knocked him down when Mujin comes up to him and tells him that Sunte has died. Day has now lost all his will to fight since the only reason he came here was to help Sunte. And what's worse, that beating he gave Meera was for nothing now. But then Meera comes to the side of the ring with a note that Sunte wrote for Day. He knew he wasn't going to make it, so he wanted to let Day know that he was thankful for all the effort he had put in. But Day should live for himself from now on and fight how he wants to fight. So Day doesn't give up just yet and gives his fight with Mori everything he has left in the tank. And through the intense fight, they repair their friendship and Mori is able to use his Blue Dragon kick, which ends the fight, leaving Mori as the victor. The three later leave the arena as friends once more. It was later announced that the Nationals will be a team match, so Mori, Meera, and Day will all be participating in it. Mujin goes to meet his old teacher, and as a greeting, he stabs Mujin through the chest. But that was just a clone, and this is just their usual secret handshake. Mujin talks about Mori and how he survived eating the sage fruit, which intrigues the old man and makes him consider taking Mori as his new disciple. Mujin also mentions that he wanted to see Taejin, Mori's grandfather, because Knox had tried to capture him. But Taejin is no slouch and was able to crater the ground with one kick. In response, his assailants had to call upon a giant sword to strike him down because what else would be able to do it? We don't know what happened after that, but Meera is feeling sidelined since she knows she can't hold a candle to Mori and Day. However, she meets the announcer in a convenience store, whose name is Sim Bongsa. He gives her a little encouragement of how strong she truly is, as she is yet to figure that out herself. Meanwhile, Day is having a chat with Mujin and tells him that even though Suntae is dead, and he has no reason to continue, he would still participate in the tournament since that would have been what Suntae wanted, and he also didn't have health insurance, so the hospital bill isn't going to be pretty. But he has one question before he leaves. He's not going to act like he didn't see two people use magic flying visages, so he asks what was up with that, and Mujin informs him that the stands were called charkariki. At the same time, Mori is trying to train but keeps getting distracted, so that old man that was talking with Mujin comes to help him. Sim leaves Meera and tells his wife to take his daughter to the car because something is off. And this is why you never trust the bunny costume. It was an assassin from Knox. People have already started making moves to eliminate their opposition. And as the national competition begins, Sim is found dead on the streets, and Q, the green-haired commissioner, has been stabbed through the chest in his apartment. Mori's team will face the opposing team in 3 rounds, and the first to score 2 wins will be the victor. Mori goes first, and he is up against Gidam, so he wants to show off the new move he learned from the old man. By hitting the pressure points on his body, he can draw out his latent potential and raise his attack power. Or that would be the case if he didn't suck at doing it. Instead, he paralyzes himself and gets steamrolled, so now Day is going to face Kwang. Meanwhile, Q is still being mocked by the guy from Knox who attacked him, but seconds later, the guy's arm is immediately cut off. Q is just getting started. Back at the tournament, Kwang is struggling against Day, but Jamie believes he will not lose. Kwang has gone through a lot in life, and despite being 38, he never gave up on himself and still tried to complete high school, no matter how badly he was mocked. His perseverance left a good impression on her, and that is why she knows he will not give up here. And while I'm rooting for the guy, since Mori already lost his match, the plot demands that Day win this to keep them in the game. And so, Day is able to stop Kwang's attack and win the match. He was about to finish off his attacker when 2 others show up, Exil and Saturn, also from Knox. Saturn has her mouth busy with candy, but uses her charkariki to bind Q, while Exil slashes him, but he is saved by a fellow commissioner. Saturn tries to use her power again, but the commissioner is superior that regard, which frustrates Saturn, and I now understand why she had to have the candy in her mouth. The 2 commissioners are pushing them against the wall, so Exil makes the decision to escape while he still can. And as he leaves, the first attacker goes creeper mode and explodes the top floor of the building. Back to the tournament, Meera has just won her match against Jamie, and Mujin receives word that Q is attacked, and he deduces that there must be a traitor among them since Q's address should have been secret. The next match is about to begin. It is between Jiggle and Jugo, but I don't think you can even call this a match anymore. Jugo's maid tries to stop the massacre, but that just makes Jiggle beat her instead. So Gay steps in and stops it, and by some miracle, Jugo is still somehow alive. Oh, not anymore, I guess. The next day, another match is being fought, and the man to watch here is Park Ilpio with his superior fighting ability. While watching, Mori realizes that the tiger on the back of Ilpio's hoodie is the same one that his grandpa had on his uniform, and that makes him curious. Ilpio wins the match, meaning he moves on in the tournament, and after leaving the arena, Mori goes off on his own to think about what could have happened to his grandpa Taejin, but Ilpio comes to meet him and starts fighting him. However, this is another one of those greeting, and the two come to an understanding fairly quickly. Mori asks Ilpio about the tiger on his hoodie, and he explains that it is his way of paying respect to Jin Taejin for helping him find his fighting style. But before he can ask how Taejin is doing now, Mori is attacked by Jiggle, forcing Ilpio to block it. Jiggle has a grudge against Ilpio, and won't hesitate to bring harm to others to get to him. Mori realizes that he is still far too weak, as he couldn't react to that attack at all. Meanwhile, Cube has found out that Sim's wife and kid were killed by Knox, and he is really angry about it, so he barges into Park Mujin's office and demands to know why he let this happen. But Mujin isn't the boss for nothing, and there's no way that he's going to take this level of disrespect. In the end, Mujin actually did save the wife and kid, so Ki completely overreacted and now has to pay for the property damage. But that aside, Knox is definitely going to try something, so the commissioners have to be prepared for war. With that said, Mori is caught up in his feels since today is his birthday, the same day that Taejin left to protect him from Knox. It was set up to be a depressing day for him, but Meera and Dae are here to celebrate with him. They make a promise to fight one another again after they win the tournament, but Dae isn't going to be fighting in the next round since he interfered in Jigul's match and got suspended, so Meera and Mori are going to have to carry the team. However, there is a plot twist the next day, and Mori receives a letter with a photo of Grandpa Taejin tied up. Due to that, Mori skips out on the tournament to go find his grandpa, and Meera must now hold out her fight until Mori gets back so they don't get disqualified. Her opponent is Marin, who is a very muscular swimmer. And remember that sword of godlike power that Meera let get stolen? Well, look who's back to bite you. He mocks her for never realizing the true power of the sword despite having it for most of her life, and she tries to take it back from him, but it was enchanted with Loyalty 3. Meanwhile, Mori thought he had found Taejin, but it was just a trap and gets blown to Kingdom Come. Then another guy from Knox comes out, and to finish Mori off, he's going to use his clones. Meanwhile, Dae is being attacked by this girl with a serious case of duck lips syndrome. She is part of Jigul's team and beat up Kwang, so Dae doesn't want to deal with this and knocks her to her knees and tries to leave. But then, thinking he is cool for being able to take her to her knees, she kisses him out of nowhere. Then Jigul shows up to take her away. Mori is still fighting for his life against a sea of clones and falls through the floor, finding the real Marin dead. He and his teammates have all been killed and replaced by clones, and that pissed Mori off to a great extent, so he's getting serious. Meera is still fighting with clone Marin and she is on the verge of losing. Yet at the last moment, she unlocks her Chakuriki and regains possession of her sword to win the match. And afterwards, Mori rushes in to catch her. We then get to see a repeat of the coordinated beatdown Mori gave to the clone guy and this guy as well, and suffice to say that Mori won that match. After the fight, Mujin informs them that the people they just fought were pawns of Knox's plans to get rid of all Chakuriki users except their own. But if they want to get more information and fight them, they have to win the tournament first. They are fighting Ilpio's team, and Dae wins his match against Sungha, meaning Ilpio has to go out next. However, Knox has begun to make their move on the tournament, and a big-ass sword is about to descend upon them. Mori and Ilpio start their fight, and from the beginning, it is very clear that Ilpio has the upper hand here. Ilpio starts lecturing Mori on why he sucks at fighting, while simultaneously beating his ass, and Mori can't even land a definite attack on him. Ilpio has a counter to everything he has thrown at him thus far, so Mori tries to take a page out of the others' books and copy their attacks. Meanwhile, outside, this guy is preparing to stop the big-ass sword, and he brought his own band to play his theme song. Mori has finally been able to close the gap between him and Ilpio, and they are now on equal terms. And outside, the guy is still bopping to his theme song as he casually saves the city. After all the fighting and dancing he just did, the sword was finally destroyed and his job is done. And inside, Mori finally knocked Ilpio down. But as proud as Ilpio is of Mori, he can't afford to lose here and awakens his power, which Mujin recognizes as the key. Ilpio is now a whole 5 parallel dimensions ahead of Mori, and there is no reasonable way that Mori doesn't get whooped back to the Dark Ages here. And the whooping looks like it is going to go completely in Ilpio's favor, but his body is still not used to this amount of power, so Mori still has a chance here and is more or less able to stand his ground. But as Ilpio is about to finish off the fight with his glorious blaze, Mori unleashes a mysterious power that strikes fear into Ilpio. He creates a sky indoors, and Ilpio knows he is not to be underestimated now. He tries to fight back, but the power-up was too drastic, and Mori is now on the level of a god. And that isn't something that the Nine Tails can compete with. Ilpio loses the match and gets taken to the hospital to care for his injuries, and Mori is left confused as to what the hell he just did. Later, Juba is walking down the halls looking for Jigul to take revenge on. He may be alive somehow, but I can't say he looks like he is doing too well. Something happened to him. And now he has turned into a senseless monster that absorbs people for strength. Ilpio tries to stop him, however. He goes berserk and grabs his friends. But as Jugo is distracted, Jigul finishes him off with one attack. But Ilpio's friends were caught in the crossfire, losing an arm and a leg. Jigul doesn't seem to care in the slightest, and Ilpio swears to wipe that smug look off his face if it's the last thing he does. Ilpio is beating Jigul so bad that he goes into a flashback of his father, but even after the severe concussions that he just received, he is still able to think clearly enough to remember what he wanted to get. So he manages to swallow Ilpio with his Chakuriki and remove the key to God's power from his body. And now that it is out of Ilpio, everyone is trying to get their hands on it, and it gets passed around until it ends up in Knox's hands. And then Mori's, but he has no idea what it is. Meanwhile, the military has caught wind that something bad is going down in Seoul, so as you do with all problems, they decide to chuck nukes at it. Mujin still has to deal with Knox's world-ending attack and the nukes as well, so he uses his powers to teleport everyone into a pocket dimension. Meera and Day are split up from Mori and the others and are attacked by Jeagle, but they stood no chance against him at all. And when Mori finds what Jeagle did, he isn't in the mood for talking anymore. Back in the city, Mujin was unable to stop Knox's attack, so it looks like the world is going to end. Chugo's grandfather, Jason, is on the warpath after losing his grandson and may be looking for a flashy way to die because of that. He teleports every single citizen in the city out, and then uses magic to take all the nukes and form his own mega nuke aimed at Knox's attack, which in turn blows it up, but still nukes the entire city and tears a hole in Mujin's pocket dimension. Once the dust settles, Knox and Jason are still in one piece, but Knox can't move and Jason falls to the ground, maybe because of the radioactive fallout. Mori and the others were blown out of the pocket dimension, so while he is distracted, Jeagle captures him and steals the key away. It's over, humanity has lost, and Jeagle has become too powerful to oppose. Meera and Day want to retreat, but enlightened Jeagle knows not to let them escape and go on a training arc, so he's going to finish them off here. Meera and Day fight back, but they are unable to touch him at all, and even with Mori's help, they cannot handle the power that Jeagle now possesses. Jeagle is about to finish off Mori and Meera with a red spear, but Day gets in front of them and takes the hit to allow them to escape. Mori is shaken so much by Days that he starts having a flashback. It is a memory of a previous life where he was an army commander. His men tell him they are ready to go to war, but in response he tells them, "Nah, I'll just handle it myself," and proceeds to annihilate a whole group of giants with his staff Nuebo. That same staff falls from the sky, and Mori remembers his past now, so he looks at Jeagle and sends the message that he's about to get his ass beat. So the two begin their earth-shattering battle, and it is looking pretty equal in terms of power as they destroy the landscape. Jeagle ends up having Mori by the throat and thinks he has won, but Mori reminds him that he is still going to get a godly beating and uses his staff to launch Jeagle upwards. And as Jeagle is flying, hits him with 3-piece combo, and after sending him crashing to the ground, uses his thunderstorm fatality to finish him off. It looks like it is finally over, but like most final bosses, Jeagle had an extra form left to defeat. But as Mori tries to call on his staff once more, he is unable to do so, showing that he has hit the limits of his power. He won't be able to take Jeagle down alone, but luckily, he is not alone. The team bands together and parries all of Jeagle's attacks in tandem to give Mori an opening to deliver the final blow, and once that opening presented itself, Mori delivered a dragon kick directly at Jeagle's center, and he is blown to bits. Later, a woman appears saying she is Kim Eun-gyo, and the one who is meant to grant the wish of the winner of the God of High School tournament. Mori was about to wish to get Grandpa Taejin back, but he realizes that the health of the others here is more important, so he wishes for everyone's injuries to be healed, which also gives Ilpio's friends their arm and leg back. However, she can't bring back the dead, and Jason is definitely dead after all that radiation poisoning. Now, Kim Eun-gyo has become a loli since she used up all her power, but she's able to tell Mori that Taejin is still alive somewhere as she sensed his presence, and hearing that, Mori collapses in relief. 3 months later, Mori finally wakes up from his nap and is greeted by Day and Meera. Jeagle may be gone, but there are still many more adventures to be had for this trio.